Hello, my little cherubs. I'm back. It's been a while. A lot of things have gone on. Still gainfully unemployed, but hopefully that will change soon. I know I promised you when I first started this channel that my intent was not going to be to turn this into a political forum. And that is still my intent. It's not to make this a political forum. However, there have been different pieces that have come out in more recent times that it would have been criminal for me not to address, because it strikes at the very core of this channel and the purpose of this channel. And one of them is dealing with misinformation. Recently, there was an article that WMUR News 9, actually it was picked up nationally, about State Representative David Love in the town of Derry, New Hampshire, in the county of Rockingham, and a lawsuit that was filed by two drag artist performers. And their names were, sorry, it's late and I'm ready for bed. Robert Champion and Michael McMahon. Also by the names of, they go by the names of Monique Toussoon, I'm so sorry ladies, and Clara Devine. So Monique Toussoon and Clara Devine. And what Representative David Love had done was, from my understanding a few years ago, and I'm going to put the link in the description below, because I'm not going to go through it, because I know a lot of the online YouTube community has covered this ad nauseum. But I'm taking this at a different tack, because this is very personal for me. Because the county in which this happened in is the one I am sitting in right now. I am a lifelong resident of the state of New Hampshire. I live in Rockingham County. I live in a town called Kensington. It's probably about 45 minutes away from Derry. And when I saw this story, which honestly I wasn't even aware of it when it first happened. Again, I'm not going to dive into the specifics. I'm going to leave the link to this, to WMUR, in the links below in the description. But why I wanted to talk about this was twofold. I'm going to show you a clip, but I need to give you some context first, because when Mr. Love gave his public apology, there was something that has concerned me, because it caught my attention. And as a trans woman in the state who has grown up in the state, I needed to speak to this, because I'm hoping that people like Mr. Love see this from a trans adult who has lived in this state their whole life. And the comment that struck me was when he had basically, and I'm trying to find it, said that he was not informed at the time that he made the statements in his public apology. I'm trying to find it here, but essentially that's really what it was. And you can go to any of the online media sources, Queer Nation, I believe Jesse Dollamore may have touched upon it, Farron Cousins, I believe, touched upon it. The piece I want to touch upon, though, is that comment about misinformation. And I find it hard to believe that someone could go out onto the floor of the representatives, excuse me. Again, I'm getting tired and it's late. And when he said he was misinformed, that to me didn't sound like misinformation. So I did a little bit of digging. And there is a online YouTuber, very radical right. I'm going to link the clip. Actually, it's the full video. But his name is Anthony Henry. And the channel's called America's Ass with Anthony Henry. A while back, Mr. Henry had Mr. Love, on his show, episode 2 of his first season. And the clip that I'm going to show you, in my mind, is very contrary to what he said about being misinformed. Because if that is the case, it kind of runs in stark contrast. Again, in my opinion, and I urge everyone to make their own opinion on this. As a lifelong citizen of the state, to say I was infuriated with what I heard Mr. Love say prompted me to, like I said, do the research, and I found this video. And in this video, I progressed it to the point where they talk about the budget and some of the things that are passing in the budget. Along with that is their mockery of the protest of Don't Say Gay. So I'm going to play the clip because you need to see the clip first before I can really give any kind of editorial opinion.
Business records in first degree. Yeah. All right. I guess we'll just talk about some New Hampshire state legislative stuff. So I'll let you lead that off.
Sure.
You're in the mix of it better than anyone.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow we're going to be voting on the budget. There's and this budget that we'll be hopefully passing is just a proposal. It'll go on the table with the Senate proposal and the governor's proposal, and everything will be hashed out, and they'll come up with something more permanent, and then we'll vote on that. All the numbers are fungible. They can go one way or another. Right now there's a spending increase and a tax decrease. We've had some good revenue come in, and we've been able to do that.
Yeah. And what are some important bills floating around right now?
Probably the most important bill, we're getting the Senate version of the parental rights bill. The House version failed by 4 votes. It failed by 2 votes, I believe, and we had 4 Republicans vote against it. I don't know what their problem with it was, but I hope it's been alleviated and fixed. But this is going to be a big thing with there's a lot of opposition to the way the things that are being taught in schools, and the parents have a right to know what the kids are being taught and how they're being taught. They have a right to know any how can I put this? They have a right to know what's going on in their kids' lives. The parents are the ones that are responsible, not the teachers. The kids do not belong to the schools, and that's what it seems to be the way we're going. Is your children will not be yours anymore. They belong to the schools, and the schools will do as they please with them. And we've got we've got to stop that.
Yeah. This bill's probably it's probably one of the only bills that people at my school consistently know about, ever since the original Don't Say Gay bill happened in Florida. That was a big deal when I was in middle school, in 8th grade. They actually had a walkout during one of the periods. They tried gathering people into the lunchroom as a in-school walkout because of the Don't Say Gay bill across the country. It's not even called Don't Say Gay bill. That's what the liberal media has coined it. So the walkout did not go as they thought it would. I'd say I didn't go, but I had people told me what happened. Apparently 75% of the people there were not going because they agreed with the walkout. They just wanted to go to make fun of everyone that went.
Isn't that what high school kids do?
Yeah. And basically hijack it. Like, I heard that there was people there that went up to the microphone. They had a microphone for anyone that wanted to speak. And people were going up and chanting, "We are gay," just to freak everyone out. And Yeah, definitely a lot of misconceptions among my generation on what it actually does. So, can you explain in brief terms what it actually does without all of the liberal, and I shouldn't say liberal, news bias?
What it actually does is keeps sexual identity, the subject of sex, at that belongs to the parents. It does not belong to the teachers, and that's the bottom line on that. If your kid's gay, you should know about it. If your kid wants to do the transsexual thing, you should know about it. The opposition to this parental rights bill has often said that there are kids whose parents wouldn't agree and that might beat them and stuff. Well, we have laws for that. We don't have to take away the rights of 95% of the parents, or maybe even more, maybe 98% of the parents, in order to fix a law that we already have that'll work fine.
Yeah, yeah, and I can almost guarantee that those 4 Republicans won't be around for next session.
They've certainly been talked to.
Well, little Anthony Henry, I got news for you. I didn't look at the voting from that time period on in terms of those 4 Republicans, but I guarantee you they probably did stay in office. Much like New Hampshire, for some reason, we keep stupidly putting Republicans in, and yet we always seem to be, prone for harming ourselves. Again, it's late. I know there's a term for it. I can't think of it right now, but basically we're sadomasochistic. The problem, there's multiple problems I have with this video. This one particular clip. But apparently, Mr. Love, and this is the problem I'm having, and I am just voicing my own opinion on this. It's ill-informed, and in my mind, it's bigoted. I should know because I was the child that suffered years of child abuse at the hands of my mother, not to mention a whole series of other things that happened. But I'm focusing on that one because where were the authorities to protect me at the time? And I'll make this even more interesting for you, Mr. Love. My mother worked in the Department of Corrections for 22 years. So guess what? She worked at Rockingham County Jail at the time. If memory serves, DCYS wanted to pull me and my siblings out of the house, which on further review, I think I need to go get the records from my elementary school to see what actually transpired. Even though that was a long time ago, I think as an adult I have the right to know. But what you did to these 2 performers is nothing more, in my opinion, than what you did here. Gin up fear, gin up anger. The schools teach children how to interact with each other. They teach children very fundamentally basic socializing skills. These are trained educators. My mother was one of these parents that didn't give a damn, so long as it didn't bother her. But as soon as she found out I was making paper mache purses, I got the tar beat out of me. And where was anyone? Where was any adult that saw the scars or saw the terror on my face? I can tell you where. Nowhere. And that is exactly what still goes on to this day. Do you know how many children are thrown out of their houses because their parents don't want a transgender or non-gender conforming child? Staggering. I'm shocked and I'm horrified that you would have the audacity back then to make a blanket statement saying there are laws to protect them. No, Mr. Love, even if there are, I hate to tell you, those laws don't mean squat. And in some cases, the public school system is the only safety net those children have. So no, parents shouldn't have to know everything. There is a reason why people, for example, in Florida, since you want to go down the don't say gay route, fine. There was a reason there was an uproar over the state mandating that if your child is choosing to use a different pronoun other than what they were assigned at birth, the parent should know automatically. Sometimes home is not where the heart is, and obviously, Mr. Love, you're not spreading the love. You're spreading misinformation. You're spreading fear and disinformation. And I would ask the good citizens of Derry, I've been through your town multiple times, very beautiful town. As one New Hampshire resident to another, you cannot allow this man to be reelected again, because what he is spinning is incorrect. And someone is going to get hurt. And you know what? The proof is in the pudding. Mr. Love has to pay out $200,000, $100,000 apiece for each performer, which I also might add, I believe they were trying to read to children. They were trying to teach children how to read. I don't see that in the Republican plan. So why is it my community is trying to teach children while your community is trying to rob them of an education? And that statement about the schools owning children, like I said, false. And by the way, your orange god, for the record, just said something very similar just recently, which was a complete lie. And I think his was, I heard it today, excuse me. And if I remember correctly, it had something to do with when children go to school because it's so radical that they're going to have their genitalia removed and their sexual assignment changed. Not true. Not true. I'm going to play another clip. This is the part 2. So I can give myself a few minutes to calm down. And by the way, I do apologize for how I look tonight. It's getting late and I'm very tired. But I needed to get this out. I needed to voice this. This is towards the end of that same episode 2. But I want you to watch it because there was something I caught towards the end of this that I'm not going to say it just yet, because I want to see, my little cherubs, if you notice this. And let's talk about it afterwards. So let's go.
An abortion statistics bill, for instance, that we couldn't get passed. It's no, there was no names attached. You know, it was an anonymous an anonymous program where all it'd be, you know, the age, where the person lived, the town that the person lived, what have you, and you know, we couldn't get it passed. And you know, I said, you know, I used Derry for instance. You know, if one of the middle schools has you know 13-year-olds getting pregnant and we have 5 of them that have abortions, maybe we should spend some of that family planning money, you know, teaching these kids about the consequences of unprotected sex.
Yeah.
And you know, rather than just throwing it into the wind and throwing it to these abortion centers and stuff and hoping for the best. You know, it once again, though, it went nowhere. You know,
13-year-olds possibly getting pregnant in elementary schools? I agree, there's a problem. But I'm looking right at the mother and the father, first off. I have to say, obviously the common sense wasn't there. Common sense is, you don't flip-flop on your position, because in the first clip you sat there and said sex education ought to be something that the parents teach at home. It needs to stay at home. Now we're talking about abortion. You're saying that maybe some of the funds need to be spent on sex education. It goes back to the misinformation. It goes back to this ideal that these people have that's unrealistic. And then when they go out and they make the statements in front of their peers in the State House, poor Monique Toussoun and Clara Devine wind up in the crosshairs. They did nothing wrong except for try to make a living and teach children. Mr. Edwards, that's why I needed to speak out about this, because it's sick, it's disgusting, and I can't believe in the 21st century this is where we are. I lived through this. In the 80s, in the 90s, anyone who's watched my other episodes on this channel knows I was a gay man for 20 years. I had to come out as a gay man. until I finally had the courage to come out as who I really am. And I guarantee you, if it took me a better half of my life to get where I am right now, there is not a single chance in hell any child is going to be able to do what I'm doing today. And when you put laws into place, or try to, that take away a child's safe spot, you're not doing them any favors. You're just sending them from one hell to another. And that's why I will consistently be a voice of logic and reason and shut down the Republican rhetoric at any possible opportunity I have. Because I lived it, I went through the hell, and I'll be sure as hell not going to allow this to happen in any caliber to a child who is currently in the same position I was in, or adult. And that is a promise I intend to make to every single Republican in the state that has an issue with our community, who wants to spread misinformation. Then I am going to chime up. And that is why I also named this channel Transitioning New England, because I will also make it my personal mission to help try to transition the lives of others for the better. To Miss Monique Toussoon and Clara Devine, you have my utmost respect and gratitude as a member of this community for everything you do and all the joy you bring. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. And if there's anything I personally can do to help either one of you, my email is in the description below. And I thank you for being selfless and trying to help children. And I am so sorry this happened. But this is why I needed to speak up, because this is wrong. This is wrong on so many levels. And I was a child that lived this. But Mr. Love was saying about parents knowing. No. No. I lived that horror. I wouldn't wish it on anyone else. I'm still living with it to this day. And I'm going to share one other thing. As a result of this and a litany of other things, I suffer with PTSD. And sometimes, in the middle of the day, something might trigger, and I'm right back to where I was back then. And that is the personal hell I'll always have to live with, because you never recover, you just learn how to live with it. And that, my friend, is something you and the rest of your caucus will never understand. I hope you find something positive out of this to learn from it, Mr. Love. Because it's not just it's not just children that are suffering with these ideals. Everyone's deserving of respect. Everyone's deserving to live their lives and be who they are. And no one has the right to take that away from anyone. No one. On that note, my little cherubs, I'm going to end it there. So with that being said, my little cherubs, I'm going to say a tutelia. And remember, it's not trashy, it's classy. And I'll catch you on the flip side. Mwah.